Texas is home to a variety of barbecue restaurants, and their food is a major part of Texan culture. Louie Mueller Barbecue, just outside of Austin, was founded in 1949 and continues to lure visitors from around the world. This family-owned business is considered an icon in the world of barbecue, and we're here to check it out.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Amy Schuster for Foodie Hub. I am standing in front of the legendary Louie Mueller Barbecue in Taylor, Texas. This is the epicenter of delicious, all things barbecue. You are going to love it. Let's go. So this is Wayne, and he is third generation.
Third generation.
The grandson to the originator of this place. This is like a true family-owned establishment, right?
It is. It's 3 generations deep. My grandfather had it for 25 years. My father ran it for 34, and I've been at the helm since 2008.
So we're not technically in Austin, we're just out on the outskirts, right?
Yeah, we're northeast of Austin, about half an hour. We're in a small agrarian community, mostly cotton-based. That's how the economy was built. But we're off the beaten path, yeah.
Okay. So was it hard, like starting up kind of being just outside of the big city, back in the day, and then now how Austin is like the epicenter for barbecue right now?
It wasn't hard. It was actually easy because when we were first established, we were just this adjunct function from my grandfather's meat market. He owned a grocery store. It had fresh produce. It had a fresh meat market. Refrigeration in 1946 was poor, and so you had spoilage concerns coming out of a fresh cabinet. One of the ways you preserved profit out of that cabinet was you took your meats and you ground them into sausage, you dried them for jerky, or you cooked them for instant consumption. This establishment sort of evolved out of that need for instant consumption. And it serviced the local community, the local farmers, ranchers, the railroad engineers, the blue-collar workers of the town. The town itself sort of died a little bit, and then we had to extend out. We were sort of the keepers of the flame. There was a ring around Austin, about 60-mile radius from the epicenter of Austin, where you found some of the best Central Texas barbecue anywhere. You went to Luling, Llano, Lockhart, Taylor, because they were the only places still that could afford really to do what we do and had people willing to do it. All of the urban centers, the land got too expensive, and it forced this type of establishment
just on the outskirts.
To stay on the outskirts, and this is where it sort of smoldered for all these years and stayed true to its tradition. And it was really only during the food revolution of the early 21st century that you saw this, what we're doing, be looked at differently. When I was in high school, I thought this was all going to become very industrialized, very automated, gas-fired, electrical thermostat, where you set, forget, overnight. There was really no artisanship to it. But the old stick burners, like what my father's done and others have done, hung on just long enough that this new generation has come in and has seen this as an art form and has really picked up the mantle and thrown themselves into what I swore to God I would never do, and putting in 16-hour days, trying to become culinary alchemist. What we do is we take basically lead, this tough old piece of meat, and through our philosopher's stone of our process, we transform it into black gold.
That's literally what it is.
That's literally what it is. It's black gold. And
There's no way to automate that though. You have to like put the love and the hands into making it, like you said, it's an art form.
It is. I think in order for you have to take each piece of meat, each cut of meat as your own child, as an individual child, because every section of our pit surface is a little bit different. The temperature is a little bit different. The airflow is a little bit different. Each piece of meat is a little bit different. No 2 cows are the same. If you have multiple children, you'll know that their personalities are different, and they need different things in order to be fully successful and to grow as individuals and to be fully prepared for their adult life, right? You can't treat them as cookie cutters. Well, our meat is the same way. We don't want them to we don't want them to grow up to be just, leeches on society. We want them to grow up to actually be president, all of them. Well, they talk to you. The meat talks to you. And this is the way you translate what it's saying. You feel it. And by feeling it and understanding your pit, you'll know what it's telling you that it needs. And by listening to that, you'll place it around on the pit where it needs to go to fulfill its destiny. changes people's lives.
The way you talk about meat, it's like you were born with a brisket in your hands. You know, it's like you're very passionate about it, and it's not just a business for you. It's like, you know, it comes from your heart.
I think it has to. You know, you have to drink the Kool-Aid to be in this business. It's a hard business. It's not something you're going to get rich doing. You have to love what you're doing, and if you don't, it will eat you up. It will chew you up and spit you out. The days are long, and the thanks are many, but compared to the labors that you put in many other occupations, the payback is small. So it has to be a labor of love. Otherwise, there's just no way you would do it. No way I would do it.
So your grandfather had the restaurant, your father took it over, and then at what point did you come in? Did you always kind of have your sights set on, you know, I want to take over one day, or?
My father took over from his father in 1974. I was 8 years old, and I was part of the package deal. He recruited me in as somebody to clean floors and tables, bathrooms, wash dishes. I did this until I left for college. And when I did leave, I ripped the rearview mirror off my car, swearing to God I would never return.
What changed your mind?
I think, you know, in 2006, my father was a James Beard Award recipient for the America's Classic Division. I think that changed his whole idea and thought about what he did and what he was doing. Before that, even through that, he saw himself as a guy who cooks barbecue. But after receiving that award, I think he felt he had a legacy for the first time. He asked me to promise him something, which is something he's never asked me to do before. And, you know, and that is to make sure that this place continues when he's gone. Not that he was planning on going anywhere anytime soon. He was very healthy.
It meant that much to him.
But he was tired. He wanted to step away, but he wanted to make sure it was in good hands. I needed that foundation, these tethers to my foundation to kind of remind me who I was and where I came from, so I could have a better understanding where I was going. So coming back here was really initially as much about me as it was about him. Oddly enough, though, just spending a few weeks back here and speaking to our guests, I realized that I was wrong on both accounts. That this wasn't about me or my father at all. This was about everybody who's ever walked in the doors. This wasn't our place, it's their place. I had a larger responsibility than that to myself or to my family. I had a responsibility to our state, and I think ultimately to American cuisine.
Yeah.
It's to think of it in those terms. I'm not trying to sound, you know, grandiose about this, but I look at American cuisine, and there's not much that we really hang our hats on that we can truly call our own. But this is truly one of those things. And being how we've influenced, my father in particular, how he's influenced so many people in this industry, how he's, you know, people have come and had their barbecue epiphanies here, how people have been trained primarily by me, but influenced by him and inspired by him, that, you know, he's truly the godfather of Texas barbecue. And so this place took on a whole new meaning for me, and it was truly worth protecting, and I will do that to the end.
So on the outskirts of Austin, you've got Black's, you've got Smitty's, and then now, you know, Franklin's in the, you know, downtown central Austin doing his thing, and then you guys are out here. How do you kind of stay relevant? I guess there's so many places popping up now. You know, it's almost oversaturated.
Yes, it is. We've been invited to come into Austin proper many times, but that market is overly saturated. Now, we'll be extending ourselves into Houston because it is a virgin market, but we're going to go into the urban centers. Before, we were, you know, the outlying areas were where you went for barbecue. Now you can get it internally in Austin proper in a way that you've never had it before. You have some really tremendous barbecue establishments there. You know, Aaron's is certainly one of those. Mickelwaite's another. Friedman's another. You have that are just elevating the bar time and time and time again. We have to stay relevant in a couple of ways. One, how people gauge and judge barbecue has changed over the last 10 years.
How do they judge it?
Initially, it was all by taste. Today, taste ranks about third on the pecking order. The top two components now are tenderness and how moist, how juicy, how it feels in your mouth. So they're more texture driven and moisture driven. That is your 1 and 1A. If you stay static and didn't change your process enough to accommodate these changes, while your process, you may be stoic, and you may be as authentic as you've ever been, you're moving backwards because everyone else is moving forward.
Kind of have to stay with the times
So
and
we-
see where the trends are going.
We've had to change our process a bit to make our product a bit more tender. Today's new guys, the Nouveau barbecue class is coming in as an artisans, and they are all about high quality, great taste, but texture is a primary component. So if we're not following suit with these trends, then we will become irrelevant, quickly become irrelevant.
Yeah.
So staying relevant is a hard thing when we're out here.
Right.
At least we have our
You have the
tradition
name,
and our
right?
heritage.
The history.
But so do some others who I think you're seeing a slide because it's an evolution thing. Natural selection has a way of rewarding those who adapt and change over time. It's those who are rigid in their diet, in their methodologies, in their living conditions. Those are the ones
They're
that
never
go
gonna grow.
They're going to go extinct. If you're not flexible, that's what's going to happen. And so we have been flexible from our beginning, both in terms of menu and in terms of cooking apparatus. You'll notice over here, this is a vertical flow pit, offset pit.
So it's going up and down.
Yeah, it's coming
and
from
up
it's
and
coming
down.
from the firebox, and it's like a reverse waterfall.
Okay.
It goes in straight out. We cook most of our meats today, starting in 1959, in a horizontal chamber, which is the way most Central Texas barbecue places cook, and that provides more like a river. You have a firebox at one end, and the air flows over and then out. So it cooks brisket differently. It's uniquely designed for brisket in particular. That was a big change because brisket was just being introduced at that time. So we changed our whole process to accommodate a single new cut of meat.
Yeah.
Today, processes are continuing to change. How we hold meats, how we wrap meats, how we serve meats are all evolving and changing based on what the cultural demands are
Yeah.
and what people are looking for in their meat.
That's good. So you have to stay ahead of the game, and you're on the pulse with the trends and what people are looking for, which is the juiciness and the tenderness. And that's what I think of when I'm eating a brisket. It's the first thing. Oh, it's just so juicy. It's just so tender. You know, and then the flavor. Yeah, it does come kind of like secondary or later. It's like, oh yeah, and it has good flavor too. Tell me a little bit then about how you guys are expanding, because you were saying you kind of do like an apprenticeship, or you want to. I don't know if you want to talk about that, or just like how you're growing the Mueller brand outside of Taylor.
It's an interesting sort of thing. Texas itself has been sort of this isolationist, protectionist, and pseudo-republic since its founding in 1836. We've always been very independent as a people. In barbecue, it was very prevalent up through my upbringing. One barbecue establishment, one pit guy never shared his information or processes or recipes with another because that was their holy grail. They didn't do that. And today, you see more of a détente. You see a much more open and sharing environment, at least superficially. My father would never tell anybody anything, but I realized a few years ago that if I was really going to pay the greatest homage to my father and grandfather, the best way that I could do that was by helping to establish our flavor profile, our style of barbecue as the authentic Texas barbecue, beef barbecue style, anywhere and everywhere around the country that I could. If you want to let's use a Christian analogy. The early church was founded in Jerusalem. It took someone like Paul, who was sort of an outcast from the disciples, to be sent out to preach to the Gentiles and establish churches and ultimately a new headquarters for Christianity in Rome. I take a Pauline approach to what we are and what we do. I bring people in. I bring people in from around the world, whether it's Tokyo, Beijing, Paris. I also bring people in domestically from Brooklyn, Seattle, California. They come
Share
from,
the good news.
They all come in. Yes, we share the gospel of Louis far and wide, because ultimately I think that this shouldn't be held under a veil. This really should be shared with everyone. And it's funny, you hear people come in the front door and they talk about Epiphany. They talk about traveling to Mecca or coming to Jerusalem or coming to St. Peter's to have their barbecue revelation. and they come here, and it's here. And so many people who are influential in our industry have had their epiphanies here. Aaron Franklin at that table had his epiphany here. So did Daniel Vaughn, so did Mike Levy, so did Wyatt McSpadden, so did so many other barbecue, what we call pit masters today, have had it here. So it's a religious thing. It's a spiritual thing. And I think I just sort of carried that theme along in what I do. I'm an evangelist. I'm a missionary. I try to establish Louis Miller churches everywhere. Now, we ourselves also realize that we're not going to, long term, this is a shrine. This place will always be sacred and holy. For our longevity, for our true health and longevity, we need to find a new home as well. We need to find our Rome. And I think for us, that's going to be Houston, Texas. It's hard as it is to believe something that's 150 miles from us does not have much in the way of Central Texas style barbecue. Dallas has quite a culture there now. San Antonio is building one, but Houston has maybe 2 places that do what we do, and they're on either ends, far north and far south, nothing in Houston proper. So we're looking to found a new church, and
The people will come. If you build it, they will come.
I hope so.
And they will eat.
I hope so. So that's where we're going.
So when you open in Houston, are you going to try and replicate this space, or is it going to be independent of itself?
Yeah, time is the only thing that can replicate this. You know, the patina on the walls comes from 50 years of smoke. There's nothing that you can really do to make that happen.
Yeah.
If you try to recreate it, it looks faux, and people just are like, they don't buy it. I think our goal in Houston is to create something that's uniquely Houston, that's reflective of the architecture, of the history, of the city itself.
Right.
It is about being a part of that community. This is distinctly a part of this community. I think what we're taking with us is our brand, our processes, our meats, our love for what we do, but we're going to incorporate that into the community.
Right.
So to be fully embraced, I think merging the two
Right.
is going to be essential. We're going to look for, it'll have more modern conveniences. It'll actually have air conditioning and heating inside, you know. Maybe more bathroom facilities. We'll have a bar. It'll have more amenities that you're looking for in your dining
But
experience.
you're uprooting the heart of this place and just transplanting it.
I think
It's
it's not so much an uprooting as it is, it's a sharing. The heart will beat here strong, and we're just, you know, now it's like a cloning. You know,
Yeah.
we're going to take that same essence and put it in the heart of this new establishment. And within the next 12 months, 14 months, we're hoping that, you know, we'll be feeding people in Houston just as we are here.
Okay, so you're talking about moving to Houston, maybe some other places. Would you ever close this establishment down?
If it's in my power, I would never close this down. This is the reason that I came back, is to protect this, to save this. This is what my father asked me to do. Part of the genius of that man, among many others, is in '74 when he took over from his father. He's 25 years into an establishment, and at that time you have decisions to make. Do you upgrade? Do you change things? Do you put your own stamp on things?
Yeah.
And his decision was, no, we're going to allow this to grow in an organic fashion, that we want it to remain what it always has been. It's a barbecue joint. We're not a barbecue restaurant. We're a barbecue joint. Look around you. We were built for the blue collar worker. And he wanted to keep the authentic nature and look and feel and essence of this place. So these tables are from 46. We've got tables in there from 59 and earlier. We've got
Then
chairs.
you've added some new stuff too. It's
We've-
like a blend of new and old.
We have, you know, just because we needed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this place is sacred. As long as I have anything to say about it, it will never close. It means too much to me. Houston would be an outpost. It would be something that we would need to maybe help long term help our brand and help drive revenues. But this place, this is Mecca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the Vatican. People come.
It is.
And they pray and they eat.
Yes.
And they pay their respects to the Sistine Chapel
That's
of
right.
barbecue.
The Church of Holy Smoke.
It's Church of Holy Smoke.
You
I
name
like
it.
that.
We've had to change it. When I grew up, it was just this building behind us, which was built in 1906. At one point in time, it was a gymnasium. Semi-pro basketball and Golden Glove boxing was held in there. A lot of cotton and textile industries, businesses were in there. But right before we moved in, it was a grocery store. So we moved in, nothing much has changed. The floors are the same, original floors, ceilings. You know, we built the pit inside, but all of that's the same. Now this area that we're in today It may look old and rustic, but that's only because of the materials that were used to build it. This was really a parking lot when I was growing up. This was the exterior wall of the building, and there was just piles of bricks up against the wall. This space uses the I-beams from old cotton gin, the floors from an old Catholic school. We even have our large bay doors are from an airplane hangar.
Wow.
I don't know where these doors came from.
Well, they look old.
Yeah, they're old. They're definitely old.
Do you plan to pass the legacy down to your next of kin?
I have a daughter who's 12.
Yeah.
Her vision is simple. I like to cook sausage. Sometimes I like to make sausage, but I really like to eat sausage. Hopefully she'll have higher aspirations than this. She says she wants to be both an orthopedic surgeon and an artist. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
You know, this will be available for you. If I do my job well, then all of this will be here for her, whether she needs to have direct input or not. And I think it's important that we keep this legacy continuing and that she plays some role. But for day-to-day operations, I want her to pursue whatever she wants to pursue and makes her happy in life.
Yeah. So can you describe a little bit about the legacy that your grandfather has passed on and everybody's role that they've played?
Sure. I like to describe it in theatrical terms. If my grandfather was, I like to call him the producer of the show.
Okay.
It was his money, it was his idea, it's his name on the billboard. He's the guy who put it all together. He brought all the components together. He decided that this is how we're going to do things. Our process is going to look like this. We're going to keep a philosophy of keep it simple, stupid. We're going to use salt and pepper. We're going to use oak wood. We're going to take the stuff from our meat cabinet and we're going to do it this way. He never struck a match. He wasn't the guy who was going to cook. My father, however, he was more of the lead actor, director. He took the essence of this ideal and made it real.
Right.
He fine-tuned and really put his heart and soul into the essence of that play. He brought it to life. His dedication to the process is really what brought this place renown and recognition.
Yeah, he was a star.
He was truly the star.
And then where do you fall in?
I'm the guy just meant not to screw it up, you know? That's my job, is to do my best not to make changes hastily or to do silly things just because I feel I need to put my stamp on anything.
Yeah.
Why change something if it's not broken?
Got it.
I only make adjustments where I feel that the demand from our guests are saying that this is what we want and this is what we're looking for to stay relevant. But I don't feel the need to do anything different than everybody did before me. I stand on their shoulders. You know, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. That's the truth. All right, ready to see the kitchen?
I'm ready to see the kitchen.
Have a snack?
Yeah, let's do it.
This is our original pit. This is the one that my grandfather had built in '46. This was a decommissioned naval vessel.
This used to be a naval vessel?
Yeah, steel was
So much history
steel
of
was
this
in
place.
short supply in 1946.
Okay. How long has it been smoking for?
The beef ribs about 7 hours. The brisket for about 12. So this is your typical brisket. It's a bimuscular mass. You've got what's called the lean, this section down here. This is a very dense, non-marbled section. On top, you have a very thickly marbled section of meat.
I wish you guys could smell this because it is just so good.
These are all beef sausage. We hand twist these every day.
This is spicy.
Originally, they were known as hot guts.
Hot guts?
Hot guts. Because they were a spicy sausage that was stuffed inside of hog casing.
It's got just like a nice little kick that kind of comes
It's
after.
got a little cayenne, a little
Yeah.
black pepper in there that really
good.
gives
Really
it
good.
its kick. So now we have our crown jewel. This is our beef short rib. They come from right around this midsection of the cow. There's quite a bit of collagens dispersed throughout the meat. It's pillowy soft.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people call it meat dough, some people call it meat butter. We just call it lunch.
Let's eat.
Let's eat.
This is a happy face.
Amen.
I
That's
don't
what we
even- I
do.
don't even know what to say. Like, I have no words. This is so freaking good. It's like buttery. It just melts when you put it in your mouth. I'm gonna need to take a moment.
This is my number one. He's responsible for what you are eating today.
Thank you. How early do you have to get up in the morning and get everything going?
This morning I was here at 2.
What?
Yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for dedicating your evenings to this deliciousness.
Absolutely.
A big thanks to Wayne Miller and everyone over at Louie Miller Barbecue. We'll see you next time here on Foodie Hub.